Good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Indiana Sports Now with Kent Sterling. It's Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. We're brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry. Dr. Mike O'Neill, the best at what he does. He is a wonderful dentist. He's been my dentist for the last 27 years. I'm never going to another dentist. When you have a chance to hire the best, that's exactly what you do, and you have that chance here. All you have to do is call him. 317-849-2933. Hit subscribe, hit like, ring the bell, do all of that stuff. We love it. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about sports. First, we're going to talk about Indiana basketball and Armaan Franklin. And we're going to actually talk to Armaan Franklin. We're not going to hear from him. We're going to talk to him. He needs to listen. He doesn't need to talk. So we're going to do the talking. And then we're going to talk about a potential draftee of the Indianapolis Colts. The NFL draft, that first round, is only 22 days away, so we're going to talk about that. I've got a guy that the Colts might want to look at if they draft down. But first, let's talk to Armaan Franklin. What are you doing? You're taking your time. You're making a decision. You're being prudent, right? You're chewing on it. You're figuring it out. You're digesting all of that information that's being presented to you. And then you're going to come up with a decision. But let me give you a little bit of help. All right? Here's the thing about college. To this point, everything has been about starts and finishes. Grade school. You start when you're in first grade. You end maybe in sixth grade. Then you go to junior high. You're done with that after eighth grade. Then you go to high school. You're there for 4 years. You were at Cathedral High School. And then you go to college. And each step is about infusing the other steps with future energy, right? That's what you're doing. When you're in college, you're trying to prepare for adulthood. Well, let me tell you this. You're an adult right now. Everything that you do today feeds tomorrow, and on and on and on. And there is no finish line. When you graduate, that's a big day. You get your diploma. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're an adult and now you go out and you prosper in the world. That's not the way it works. The way it works is every day leads to the next. Every day brings a decision to be made about how you're going to live your life that day. Where you live it is much less important as how you live it. So invest your energy in how, and don't worry so much about the where. Whether you're at Indiana, Illinois, Notre Dame, Louisville, wherever you choose to go, it's about what you do and how you live. It's not about your zip code. I know a guy who moved his entire family to a different state over $10,000. I don't understand that kind of mindset. He went to a different place. The family was happy. No big deal. But you know what? It's not about where, it's about how and what. So let's talk about what you can have at Indiana. At Indiana, and we know what you want. You want what every college basketball player wants. You want an opportunity to make millions of dollars in the NBA. You want to cash that lottery ticket that your genetics and your work ethic have provided you. I get it. And that's a good thing. It's a good want to have. There's nothing wrong with that. Can you get that done at Indiana? With Mike Woodson as a head coach, Larry Brown perhaps on the staff. Sure, he's 80, but he still knows ball. Thad Matta on the staff. Dane Fife on the staff. Thad Matta has put a lot of guys into the NBA. Dane Fife has put a lot of guys in the NBA as a member of Tom Izzo's staff at Michigan State. And Mike Woodson has coached a bunch of NBA players during his time with the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks, as well as his time as an assistant coach for many, many years for the Knicks, the Pistons, Bucks, many other teams. It's there for you. Let's talk about things that maybe people try to woo you with. How about facilities? Like Indiana, when you walk into Cook Hall, you're like, holy moly, this place is beautiful. But I got to tell you, again, nobody drafted into the NBA has ever thanked a building. That's never happened. I'd like to thank Cook Hall because Cook Hall provided me with a floor and a hoop and a weight room. No, everybody's got a Cook Hall. Buildings are not meaningful points of differentiation. They just aren't. All right, and by the way, when we're talking about going to the NBA, did you know that not a single person in the NBA right now playing went to the University of Illinois? Not one. How about Notre Dame? One. Pat Connaughton went to Notre Dame. How about Louisville? 6. Indiana's got 7. All right, so Indiana's got a broader network than any of those, but Louisville's got a pretty good network of NBA players. All right, let's talk about friendships. For me, here was my experience at IU. My first 2 years were a complete train wreck. I made some friends, and I kept those friends, but it was moving through the following 3 years that really solidified those friendships for me. It was also during that period of time I met the woman who had become my wife and remains my wife. We've been together since that year in 1984, that August, that beautiful August night when we met. That happened at Indiana University. For you, I don't know what's going to happen at Indiana, and I don't know what would happen wherever else you would go. But I'm telling you, from my experience, if I had left Indiana when I wanted after a first semester or after my sophomore year, my life would be substantially different. You never know when you're going to walk through a door, go into a party, or meet somebody at a social event where you're going to say, wow, that's the woman I want to marry. It happened for me outside Walnut Knolls in Bloomington, actually inside D19 in Walnut Knolls, and it was fabulous. Don't cheat yourself out of that opportunity. Maybe you'll have that opportunity someplace else. For me, it was at Indiana University. How about this? Fit. Think about fit. Mike Woodson, when he was hired into the job and he had that initial Zoom call, that media opportunity, what did Mike Woodson say? I want multi-positional defensive guys who can shoot. What are you? You are a multi-positional defensive guy. You can switch 4 spots. And you hit 42% from beyond the arc. You can shoot. You're exactly what Mike Woodson covets. You fit. That is important. Don't hustle through. Don't think, yeah, I got to make this decision right, or everything's going to come to a screeching halt, or everything's going to be great. Don't do that. Take a deep breath. Enjoy yourself. Be a willing and happy participant in your own life, even while you're crafting that life. Do that, and I think you're going to be fine. You learn stuff like that at Cathedral. You're learning things like that at Indiana University. It's your life. Do what you think you should with it on a day-to-day basis, but understand that as you look back, it's going to be about the what and the how, not the where. And let's talk about this. As a graduate of Indiana University and that basketball program, you will have built a brand that will get you hired for the rest of your life. People will know who you are forever, and they will want to be around you, and that will help you sell or help you present, help you get meetings that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. People will value all of that at a very high level, and that's important. As I talk to guys who went to Indiana, and I'm not talking about way back in the day. I'm not talking about Ted Kitchell or Chuck Franz or those guys. I'm talking about guys like Austin Etherington or Jordan Hulls, those guys. It's really, really important that you understand that being a graduate of the basketball program at Indiana University is going to put you in very good standing with a lot of people. If you short circuit that, if you break that bond, it goes away and you're forced to forge bonds elsewhere. In Indiana, that bond will get you work for the rest of your life, and that's something to consider as you ponder this decision. And good for you for not making it rashly. Ponder. It's a good thing. Take your time. Make sure you get it right, because this is your chance after your sophomore season to kind of evaluate, decide whether you made the right call, and whether this coaching staff is a good fit for you. Some of these guys I know. I've known Dane Fife for 20 years. Dane Fife is a stellar human being from whom you can learn a tremendous amount. So there you go. Armaan, now the decision is yours. Go ahead and make it. Whatever you do, you know what? Burn the boats. You park the boat on the beach. You set fire to it. There's no getting off that island. Work your ass off to do the very best you can every day with the talents that God gave you, and it ain't going to matter where you are. So this decision seems enormous and titanic. You know what? At the end of the day, it's about the little decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis that are going to determine whether you're a success or whether you're not. Let's talk about by the way, Sean Miller out at Arizona today. This has not been a good stretch of road for the Miller family. Had two of the most coveted jobs in college basketball until, 3.5 weeks ago? Poof, gone. There you go. That's what happens. That's college basketball. That's why knuckleheads get involved as a coach in college basketball. All right, the Indianapolis Colts are going to have a decision to make. Chris Ballard is, as the general manager, he's going to make this decision. What does he want to do at left tackle? Does he want to draft a left tackle at 21? Seems like a reasonable thing to do, but it also seems reasonable to draft an edge guy. So maybe what what the Colts want to do is trade down in this draft. Go from 21 to late in the first round or early in the second. We know how Chris Ballard historically has coveted the 34th overall pick in the draft. He's had it twice. And then he can pick up another selection and through that increase his chances. The more chips you got, the more your chance to hit on the number, right? And that's what the game is all about for NFL general managers. So, as he looks toward this decision, if he thinks that there's a guy that he can get early in the second round, early to mid-second round, and have that guy be as good as anybody at 22, that's pretty smart. So you've got Darisaw, who might be gone by 21. If he's there at 21, I think you take him. But if he's gone, then what do you hold? Why would you take one of these guys with the 21st overall pick? We're going to talk about Samuel Cosme tomorrow out of Texas. He's really interesting to me. But today, we're going to talk about a potential second rounder in Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood, left tackle at Alabama, started his career at Alabama as the right guard. Migrated over to left tackle. He tends to be a little bit stiff. He can get beat on the edge. But man, if you get locked up by him, you watch the tape of Alex Leatherwood. When he initiates a block, he keeps that block. He gets beat to the outside, like he said. He's got a silly wide base that maybe coaches can correct. Chris Strasser could correct this as the Colts offensive line coach. He ran a 4.840 on his pro day. That is damn impressive for a left tackle. I don't know what you do with that speed at left tackle. It's not like he's going to run routes and go over the middle and be an offensive weapon at left tackle. He's never going to be asked to run 40 yards. However, it does connote a little bit of explosiveness and athleticism, at least in a straight line motion that is coveted by NFL general managers. But when he locks onto you, he got you. But if he doesn't, he can get beat on the outside, and that can be a problem. He's a good run blocker, really good run blocker, and that's something that the Colts covet. They don't want a one-trick pony at left tackle. They don't want a great pass protector who can't run block or vice versa. I think a choice between the two, you take Darisaw. But if you can get Leatherwood, he's 6'5", 312 pounds. If you can get him early in the second round, if you can trade back for him, he could be your left tackle for the next 10 years, and you pick up something else besides. I don't think that that's a bad move. If Chris Ballard is going to move back, I think that that's the way he does it. Watching the Indiana Pacers has become ponderous for me. I hate to say that. Speaking of pondering, I watched last night. This was not a fun game to watch. After the first quarter of the game, that thing was over, and that's the Chicago Bulls playing here. What the hell is going on with the Indiana Pacers? They got to get better at the game of basketball. I know that they're down Sabonis, they're down Brogdon, but they're hanging on to a playoff position, a special version of the expanded version of the playoffs. I get it, but man, you get those guys back and go win some games, could you? By the way, Cubs playing right now. They just started the game, and I think it's going to be a war today between the Cubs and the Brewers. Contreras has been hit 6 times in the last 11 games between these two teams, and he's been hit the last 2 games, and in the first game, he took one in the noodle. I think that the Cubs come out today and they try to establish some aggression. It would not surprise me to see them go after a couple of Brewers hitters. And in fact, it would please me if they did, because sometimes old school baseball is good school baseball. How about that? The honor roll in old school baseball. Hey, tomorrow morning, Breakfast with Kent. If you subscribe, you know that, so subscribe. We'll talk to you 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. All things sports, all things IU, all things Colts.